my childhood and memories that spring, where you see the heart, the tree you climb, and all the precious things, the faces of the friends you've had, and images that form. When I close my eyes, I see the land where I was born, and mine is Kenya, so warm, wild and free. You always stay with me here in my heart. My land is Kenya, right from the highlands to the sea. You always stay with me here in my heart. Here in my heart. While she lay sleeping, I stay out late at night and play my song. And sometimes the night may be so long, and it's late at night when I am finally through, all alone, while she lays dreaming. I try to get undressed without a light, and quietly she said, how was your night? And I come to her and say, it was alright. And I held her, I hold her tight.
Yes, you're still watching Power Breakfast, and we continue with our news review this morning with MPs Peter Kaluma and Francis Mwangangi and Vincent Kimosop, a policy analyst. And now let's move on to this other discussion about, I think it was on the Standard, yes, page 6 of the Standard, where High Court Judge Luka Kimaro has proposed changes to the inheritance law to allow women take the bigger chunk, if not all, of the property following the death of their husbands. The judge argued, and this was during his appearance before the Judicial Service Commission interviewing panel for Supreme Court judge. The judge argued that the current law has gaps, because when a woman passes away, the man enjoys her assets and investments solely. But if it is the other way around, the woman has to share her inheritance with others associated with the late husband. Now, of course, this is something that will generate, of course, it is a proposal, that's what he says. If at all he gets a job as a Supreme Court judge, probably he might push for that. But at this point, it's still up for discussion. Now, I don't know what your view about that would be.
You know, that is already the position in law. I don't know why the judge is seeing that as a new thing. There is, under our law of inheritance or succession, the order in which you succeed or you inherit the estate or the assets of a deceased. You know what I mean? And it will start from your wife, your children. You know, the other relatives come down there. In fact, in terms of law practice, we don't quite give heed to, those people down there if the wife is there. And in fact, we say where there is a surviving spouse, he or she automatically becomes the administrator, and of course the children in that order. But remember, we have a challenge sometimes. And Fred, let me say, state to the nation the reason as to why sometimes judges go and make it very specific to children. I had a case a short while back where you remember when the Land Cruiser Prados, you know, first came to the country around 2005, 2003. A lady comes and says she's selling, I mean, her husband had just died about a month ago. She's selling her new Prado to her pastor, who has been, who had been praying with her following the death of the husband for 3 months at 300,000. And you know, I raised a phone at Toyota Kenya, because this was a brand new one, not a second hand. They told me that vehicle should be over 7 million. So I told the lady, I can't do it. This is robbery. I told the pastor, don't rob this video. You know what I mean? But they left my farm, went to another law firm who only cared about doing the agreement, and of course the vehicle went. So there are situations where you can have a prodigal or a wasteful, you know, woman also. Remember, Africa is also a bit polygamous. I did the case, which I will not tell you, and I've done 2 of very serious Kenyans, where the law of succession currently says, I remember it is at section 35, Kimosop, that even if you married, you did not marry a woman, you are merely taking tea with her for purposes of succession, she will inherit. We had a case in the law books. You remember the case of the later, you know, Nata, you know, Secretary General Francis Adongo, where a lady duly married to another man, when his sole wife, wedded in church, is busy burying him. This lady has rushed to Nairobi and is petitioning for succession. And of course, we were before Judge Martha Koome. I think it is one of the worst decisions she ever made as a judge. I think I would have raised it with her if she were nominated to come to Parliament. She said, and we brought the husband of the lady. They have 7 children with the husband. This lady is married to her husband, duly wedded also in church. You know, in law we say you are incapable of contracting another marriage once you are wedded under statutory marriage. Martha Koome, judge, made a decision that even with her husband coming to testify, her children, you know, shocking this lady, asking, are you really the wife of the later, you know, Adongo? A third of Adongo's estate is to go to this woman, who claims she merely took tea once or twice with Adongo. And this is an estate of, you know, you have a lot of real estate in Blue Sky, Mountain View and others. This a third is too much. Adongo left a lot of cash. So you see a situation in which, if you just thought of women as women, then you deprive the legitimate beneficiaries, who should be the children. So those have been the considerations. But really, in law, this is the position. It is the practice that we need to fine-tune. Me, I think it is the law, like the section 35, which we need to remove. And let me say that before the judge, you know, mentioned it, I already have a bill in Parliament. You know, I've been very passionate about, you know, laws relating to family, marriage, matrimonial property, succession, and children. Okay, I have a law already, you know, making changes.
At what level? Has it been published?
It's at pre-publication.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Before we come to Bonakimo Sopa, what's your take on this? That probably a woman should be considered, given into taking into account what Bonakaluma said, that a woman in inheritance, the wife should probably get most of all of the property of the deceased husband, because the husband, as it is right now, once the wife dies, he solely takes over everything.
But what the judge has said is what is in law, and that is how it should be. Because
but in practice, is that what we do?
No, it is out of ignorance. Because many people, maybe they don't know until they go to specialists like Lawyer Kaluma here. So I think what the judge will do if he gets this job is to implement, because this is what merely is in the law. And what I can say is that we need to respect the laws that we have, because I've seen very funny cases. I will tell you for sure, when Honorable Kaluma was elected, there were, despite the fact that he is a serious lawyer, is one of the great minds I respect in this country, what he gets whenever he goes to sit to meet his constituents are serious challenges, and some are touching on what the lawyer is saying. So I think what the lawyer, the judge now will do is to implement. I'm not sure he said he will bring any changes, because this is merely what is in the law.
I'll take a different approach, Friday. I'm the immediate chair of the Unclaimed Financial Assets Authority, and we in 2 years, 7 months, we were able to gather 5.3 billion Kenyan shillings. Today, the total amount of unclaimed assets is at 16 billion. This is just 5 years of implementation. And the reason is many people dying intestate, not leaving wills. I think this is also high time to challenge men, because the statistic shows that 80% of the wealth in the country is owned by men, to make their records and put their houses in order, by writing wills. Because one of the reasons why we have a lot of succession battles and everything is that many of us men who are even on this, we are all men here, we don't write wills. So that you reduce the element of litigating all these issues way after. Just imagine, 2 years, 7 months, 5.3 billion. And actually it is estimated the universe of unclaimed assets is close to over 200 billion. In other countries, they even use it for development. So I think that would be one way of helping us. And we reduce a lot of, like now the way the law as it is that it also appreciates the cultural dimensions, that as a man, you also come from a community. You know, in the West, it is you and your spouse. But here, you know, you are sustaining relatives. So when you
and they too can claim, they can lay claim to your assets. The relatives.
But that's what I'm saying. If you write it in your will very clearly, stipulating it reduces.
What if it's not in the will?
That is why issues of succession and people like Kaluma have a lot of work.
You see, the idea of succession makes it clear. In fact, relatives like brothers, Fred, are very far in the order of beneficiaries. They don't have to get. But there are relatives which, or whom we should also not let just die because, you know, a person supporting them has died. You know, Fred, I'm the last born of my parents. And by the way, the 7th child. They are both over 70 years old now. What becomes of them? I'm the one solely sustaining them. What becomes of them when I die?
If indeed that the parents to be supported, these other people.
Yes.
Because the argument is when the woman dies, then her property is not considered in terms of who she was supporting. She could have been supporting her parents as well. But the man takes over everything.
Remember, they move. The fear I want to allay from our people are two. One, beyond the law of inheritance, we passed the matrimonial property law. Actually, I pushed for it very hard, because you remember the law that governed the issue of matrimonial property, which is all property acquired during marriage, whether or not a spouse has contributed, was still being governed by the UK law of 18-something. So these are the achievements of this parliament, which, because they are not political, you don't quite highlight them. but what, you know, we pushed through the Justice and Legal Affairs Committee is that any property acquired during marriage between 2 or more people will be, you know, inherited by the surviving spouse or spouses. So get it.
But that's the matrimonial property.
All property acquired, by the way, during marriage is matrimonial property. It's matrimonial property. So you see a situation in which law has already made it clear that if I'm with my wife in the manner, you know, we are blessed to be together now, I die today, everything of mine, even if the title were in my name, are actually acquired during the period. But we are saying there is the danger if you just leave it open that way. You know, Mike, you also know situations of children. You may call them children, but even others who have become politicians in this country, whose parents died and within 1 year real estates in Nairobi were swept away. I would not mention names. So I would personally prefer a situation going forward where we amend the Law of Succession Act, and this is what I'm saying, that to say that where you have a surviving spouse, one has died, let the surviving spouse hold property enough for herself, but more so in trust for the children, and have a condition that you cannot dispose of the property as to make you know, the children unable to survive until they are of some age. So that you are succeeding. I'm taking away the property of my wife, but in trust for our children with her. Let it go that way.
Okay, and of course such a proposal is one that will definitely elicit quite debate in bars and other places of socialization.
But Fred, let us also acknowledge that Judge Luka Kimaru indeed is one of our our best judges around. I can tell you, very firm, very good.
Yes, he appeared yesterday before the Judicial Service Commission. Of course, he's interviewing for the position of Supreme Court judge. Now, Bwana Kaluma, you mentioned something very curious, that one judge made a ruling that you were not really in agreement with, and you said it's something that can be challenged. And someone else who's undergoing something similar, that a ruling that he made
Justice Maraga.
is Justice Maraga, a ruling that he made a few years back. Now he's being vetted for the position of Chief Justice, but a ruling he made a few years back with regard to a murder case is coming back to haunt him. And we saw this yesterday. Let's have the story.
The Parliamentary Justice and Legal Affairs Committee this evening met and deliberated on the suitability of Justice David Maraga for the Chief Justice post and prepared its report ready for tabling in the August House. It had earlier been expected that legislators would ventilate on the report on Tuesday next week, which falls on the deadline for the vetting process. However, JLAC Chair Samuel Chepkonga would move a motion for extension by 7 days to allow time to lobby members, despite Justice Maraga's nomination enjoying support from both sides of the political divide.
I, David Kenani Maraga.
Earlier, however, the committee received 3 petitions challenging Justice Maraga's nomination for the post of Chief Justice. One from Ainamoi residents who took issue with the way he handled the case on the killing of the late Ainamoi MP David Kimutai Tor and PC Eunice Chepkwony. A second from a Kisumu resident arguing he and other judges failed to deliver justice and sought to benefit from private companies. And a third from a Nakuru resident. The judge would be quick to counter these claims.
That in their view, they think there was sufficient evidence to sustain a murder case.
I acted under provocation, which allows me to reduce a charge from murder to manslaughter.
I know this is the larger question that has not been asked. Yes. That the accused person and yourself come from the same ethnic group. For me, that is not a consideration. Because if I disqualify myself from hearing cases involving kisses, a judge who is from the Kikuyu ethnic community disqualifies him, we can't move.
During his interview before the JSC panel, he would be categorical about his faith and that he would never work on Saturdays. The judge now explaining that his strong stand on his faith does not translate into fanaticism.
Extreme believers have a problem with women leadership.
Are you a liberal or are you a conservative? Where do you stand?
I know there are some people who are not Christians. I am not going to trample upon their rights because they are not Christians.
Now, pending the House adoption of the report by the Justice Committee, it would then mean that the country will have its next Chief Justice in office as soon as next week, paving way as well for the swearing in of the IEBC selection panel. Jackie Maribe, Citizen TV, Nairobi.
Well, that was yesterday. Today, I understand there is progress on that matter. Bwana Kaluma.
Yes, we vetted the judge yesterday. Let me allay these fears. In fact, in respect of the petition from Ainamoi, as a lawyer, it was not, a strong case to place against the judge. And this I'm saying devoid of, shedding light on our decision as a committee, because I can't. For now. But we have a decision on this matter already because we need a Chief Justice in office as quickly as possible. So either way, we needed to make a determination whether to reject Judge Maraga or to approve him so that the process can go. You see that the selection panel and others are there. The complaint from Ainamoi was that the judge in, convicting and converting the charge of murder to manslaughter, made comments that you would have shot at places which should not have killed, the judge. And so the residents were saying...
Killed the judge?
Killed, the former MP. Yeah. Remember the brother of, the current Benjamin. MP for Benjamin, for the same constituency. Now, it is a misunderstanding of the law. Actually, the judge went out of his way, for lawyers who know, to ensure that individual was convicted. Because remember, when you are faced with a murder charge, and then you have two defenses being run by, you know, the accused person. If you say, I killed, you know, Fred because he wanted to kill me, so I was, you know, doing that in self-defense. Yes. So you proceed under self-defense as the defense of the accused. Then the only thing is that if you find that I killed, you know, Fred because of self-defense, you acquit. It ends that way. But the judge was saying there is, you know, not enough evidence to convict for murder. But really, was it merited for you to shoot the MP at a point that kills him? So the judge says, I will go by provocation. I will nullify your defense based on self-defense. I will take you under provocation. Now with provocation, I convict you. But remember, when you are provoked in law, it is not that, you know, you are just doing whatever you want to do. We go to questioning, did the force you use amount to what we would call in law reasonable force or proportionate force? And that is where the judge was now saying, you ought not to have shot the MP at the point that kills him. If you are saying the MP was armed, you would have shot at his hand. If you are saying you are just disabling the MP from shooting you, you would have shot at his leg. But you know, the Indimuli people came saying, beyond the fact that the MP was shot at a point that killed him, the judge went saying he ought to have been shot more on the hand and the leg. They never understood that the judge was going out of his way to secure conviction under the people. So that is the understanding. The judge did very well in this matter. What pleased us most is that the judge said, remember, once you are a judge, it is not your emotions, it is not your faith, your religion, but it is the facts and the evidence. And sometimes, even as judges, within us we are mourning a situation, but without evidence. And remember, in criminal law, it is beyond any reasonable doubt. You cannot convict. That is what he also said about Kiamba. Because he said he visited Kiamba himself, and he told us he shed tears. But when you go to court, the evidence is so bungled, nobody is coming forth to give evidence. Whatever is available is so messed up by the investigating officers and so poorly presented by the prosecution that the court is helpless. So it was urging Kenyans, assist the judiciary and most our judicial officers deliver justice to you by coming forth and preparing good evidence.
But there could be an element of politics, that maybe it's not even about the judgment he made. It was just someone trying to stir the waters yesterday.
And before I say so, I want to say the late MP was a promising future leader in this country. I understand the emotions and the reactions of the residents, and that was it. I do not want to go deep the way my colleague has explained, but I want to say, in most cases, we do not differentiate our emotions, reactions, to issues touching on legality. You know, when you take a matter to court, it is upon you to prove what you are saying. It is not upon the judge to try to understand you so that you can make it. Must be proven. We have so many serious cases which have gone to court, but some are dismissed because of the manner in which they are prosecuted. It is, when look at this cup, it is when you say this is a cup, it is upon you to prove for sure this is a cup. We can see, yes, it is a cup, but it's, before a judge and a court of law, it is upon you to yes. So in this case, I tend to think there could be issues, and you understand there could be issues, and there will always be issues other than. But let's not lose the focus. The issue is you to prove what you are saying.
Yes.
To prove beyond doubt of what we are saying.
So
remember,
there's consensus that CJ nominee David Maraga is safe as far as Parliament is concerned, as far as the National Assembly is concerned.
I assure you he is safe.
He is safe?
Yes.
I can tell you, we never got an and remember, Fred, I was sitting yesterday to vet this judge, followed a very public interview by the Judicial Service Commission, which is the commission that should first, you know, interview and recommend. So we were just doing repeat based on additional information. Like this one for Indimuli was never, you know, before the Judicial Service Commission when they interviewed him. So as representatives of the people, we are just doing further interrogation. So what would put a big, you know, query or stoppage to us is if a matter arises, which is so fundamental, which was not given heed by the Judicial Service Commission when they interviewed the judge. I can say that my decision or our decision as Justice and Legal Affairs Committee cannot be spoken out by me because we are yet to debate it, although we have a decision already. But I'm saying as a lawyer in terms of the objections, the 3 objections. In fact, this one which we are saying was, you know, emotional. The others were worse. Others, they are saying when the judge was an advocate in Nakuru, he appealed and applied for stay for his client who is a defendant, and the plaintiff has petitioned saying if the judge as an advocate did not apply for stay, he would have not been in the situation it was. And you know, some of them we just say our system of justice is adversarial. You have an advocate, the other side, I'm the advocate for my client.
You know, sometimes Kaluma goes into a lot of legalese and loses it. We can't even tell where you are.
And what, that's the advantage of having people who the advantage of having informed people in positions of responsibility. I actually believe the reason why in the US they don't elect their leaders, their president directly, is that there is a level of public awareness that the members of the public do not have on the management of public affairs, that you need certain people who have certain competences. And that's, for me, he is in the right committee. I'll say 3 things concerning the public vetting of Justice Maraga. Number 1, I think we should be happy as Kenyans about what our constitution has actually achieved. In the past, it was the president would actually appoint an advocate who was in court in the afternoon to be the chief justice. There was no public participation. So this is very good. It is credit to our democracy, and we should be happy because we have seen, you can see the public legitimacy from JSC, sorry, JSC shortlisting. That for me is good for good governance. By the time Justice Maraga is sworn in, he is a product of a process. He is also a product of public. He knows that the confidence of the Kenyan people is with him. Even the participation, the issues we are seeing with the Indimuli, it is because our democracy has facilitated the same. So for me, kudos to our constitution and our democratization process. Number 2, it also speaks about the need to strengthen our criminal justice system. Because if you can see a judge going out of their way to ensure that justice is done, if the evidence was well collected. So our criminal justice system needs to be reinvented, and a lot of either capacitation and also the need to ensure that proper evidence is stored and protected. Number 3, it also speaks about the need for a stronger public communication on the part of the judiciary. Because you can see the way this petition was done and the explanation that has been given, it is actually, if the members of the public were explained to the circumstances, and because the judiciary is an institution on its own, it is accountable through the judgment and the rulings it gives. But those judgments and ruling needs to be broken in manageable pieces that people can understand. I don't think there was a problem if the judiciary, for example, had a communication arm and said, by the way, there is a petition before there's a petition before Parliament, and this is the merit, so that we understand. I am sure that a judiciary that is responsive, that reaches out, a strong public outreach program would actually have maybe reduced the work of the Justice and Legal Affairs Committee, because you can see the people did not understand fully what they were petitioning. So I think if those 3 things are done, we take this country forward.
Okay. I want us now to move on and discuss something else, and this time let's talk about the Murang'a water politics. But before that, we need to know that according to Honorable Peter Kaluma, who sits in the Justice and Legal Affairs Committee of the National Assembly, is that committee already has a decision on David Maraga, the nominee for Chief Justice. That report is ready and will be tabled in Parliament on Tuesday for debate, and we'll know by end of Tuesday, although you say you already know. We'll know by end of Tuesday whether or not Justice Maraga will be appointed.
You know, in our parliamentary system, only the chair of the committee speaks on the position of the, but we have a decision. Because again, we need a Chief Justice you know, as fast as possible. You know, so many.
So in summary,
other things. Yes, so whether we are rejecting him, we need to reject him. Whether we are approving him, we needed to do it.
I can tell the Kenyan people, I think, based on what I'm hearing, that Kenya will have a TV next week.
Yes, yes. I think we know what the answer is.
I'm not saying so, but Fred, we will give you. Fred, can I say a minute on something important? You know, let us not tribalize the work of national officers like, you know, the position of a judge. You know, the judge in Homa Bay is a Luo, and he or she is dispensing justice to a community that is largely, you know, Luo. Of course, it will stretch to other areas. And of course, Homa Bay town or Homa Bay, you know, county is cosmopolitan. Yes. You know, a judge has a jurisdiction that covers the entire nation. Don't go, you know, saying something like a Kikuyu deciding something, you know, that to you appears to favor Kikuyu is a wrong thing. Yes. These people are blind to those issues. And what shocked us in this matter is that the judge is saying, if you brought that gentleman, you say he's a Kisi, I know him, I would not identify him in the people. We are blind. Judges are trained to be blind to everything other than evidence, facts, and the law. Yes.
And that is the one idea that all Kenyans want. But I beg you, gentlemen, that we move on to the next story because of time. And a section of members of parliament from Murang'a County have insisted that residents must benefit from the controversial Northern Collector Tunnel project. Court leaders have also repeated claims that water from that project will be diverted to mega housing project allegedly being put up by President Kenyatta.
As the construction crews continue boring deep into the bowels of the earth at the Aberdare mountain, above, the groundswell of descent is clearly evident.
And the bone of contention is, you are going to drain our rivers.
It is the sentiment that prevailed across Murang'a initially, but the tide is changing for the political class. And so I ask, do you support the project?
No, there's no comment on that on my part.
The Jubilee administration is firmly in support of the 6.8 billion Northern Collector Tunnel project, which will apparently quench Nairobi City's thirst. Murang'a is undoubtedly a Jubilee stronghold, and clinching the party ticket would almost guarantee the political class the re-election they so much seek. With less than a year to the next election, and conscious that party hopping is now outlawed, they have to walk a tightrope to toe the party line while being careful not to upset the electorate.
President Uhuru Kenyatta is the first defender of the people of Murang'a. I do not think there is anything the president would do so that the people of Murang'a get shortchanged.
The tunnel has evidently turned into a hot political issue that is now pitting the Murang'a leadership against two critical forces, their voters and their political patrons.
Most of our political leaders, and especially the CEO of this country, want to be politically light.
The code politicians, on the other hand, have nothing to lose by siding with those in Murang'a who oppose the project.
We know there are cities which are being constructed in rail which are owned by politicians, and actually they want to take the water there.
The statement to the media is more direct. It states, and I quote, "The greatest likelihood is that the project is being rushed so as to supply water for a mammoth housing project being put up by President Uhuru Kenyatta and his family enterprise," end of quote. They dispute the explanation that the tunnel will be fed entirely by the floodwaters, as the government insists.
We cannot be cheated. You know, rainwater that results into floods, if we are to depend on it, I don't know whether there will be Lake Victoria or floods for that matter, but it depends on the water that comes from those little springs upstream.
My main consideration in this debate is that first and foremost the people of Kiharu should get enough water, each and every homestead in my constituency and also the larger Murang'a.
So the tunnel politics continue to simmer, and water being an emotive matter may just be one of the key election issues in Murang'a in 2017. Sylvia Chebet, Citizen TV, Nairobi.
Well, that is what is happening, and it is the same story that appears on the cartoon of the Standard. That's on page 14 of the Standard, where, no, that's the Daily Nation, sorry. The cartoon on the Daily Nation is has to do with the Murang'a water politics. And we have a caricature showing the former Prime Minister Raila Odinga and a tunnel, leading someone into a tunnel, and the tunnel says Northern Water Collector Dossier, and he says there is light at the end of this tunnel. Vote 2017 is actually at the other end of the tunnel. But back to my panelists, and of course there have been so many claims and counterclaims, denials, dismissals, but my concern and the question I want to put to you is that don't you think we run the risk of diluting or dismissing legitimate concerns simply because of politics and whoever raised this matter? Because the kind of reactions that we see, of course, leaders from that region were a bit slow in reacting, but a day later, after Odinga raised the matter, the governor of Murang'a came out and denied and totally dismissed the claims. And 24 hours later, members of the County Assembly came out with a different story. Now we are seeing members of the National Assembly coming out and raising their own concerns about the resources going to their constituents. And clearly, there are legitimate concerns, both at that level and at the national level, because they say this matter could affect a number of counties beyond even Murang'a County. But are we seeing that politicians meddling in such a serious project affecting the whole matter?
I think let's look at it. I always like separating the issues, the technical and the political. So from a political point of view, it is Raila Odinga, as the leader of political formation of our country, was within his right to raise issues, because that's one of our principles. Under Article 10.2 is the issues of accountability, that the government should be accountable for its actions, national and at the county level. So for me, that's okay. And also it explains that when you have a democracy whereby the government in power can be checked whether it is right or wrong, that is good for the country. So let's not lose the debate just because maybe Raila has pointed out or somebody. So that for me is the first one. Then number two is that accountability in itself. If you have nothing to hide, why should you be afraid? Let's not therefore sweep concerns that environmental impact assessment was done. These are the viability, the cost benefits to the immediate community and also to the nation at large. I am very sure that a national project that will have a national project that is good for the betterment of our country, if you articulate and you share concerns. Look at what is happening in Ethiopia. A very big development in Bishoftu. The economy is growing, but because you do not incorporate issues of public participations, people's concerns, what happens? You can lose an entire investment in one day. So I think, in my view, the government under the Ministry of Water and Environment together with the county should not be moving fast with the dismissals or CORD wanted a 10% share, and just come out very clearly and explain on this date, this is how the project was conceived, this is how it was advertised, this is how the environmental impact assessment, these were results, these were concerns, and what is going to happen, it settles the issue. But if we do not give clarity, what happens? You give room for spin and speculation. We are moving towards an election. I can tell you, remember we were on this platform at one point with the Opio Wandai, and he says, for us, we are happy in certain issues when it remains in the political. I understand the politics of it, but in my honest view, the government needs to come out clearly. They tendered for this project, they advertised for this. Let them come out clearly and explain to Kenyans.
I want to say something before Kaluma, because it is of interest to him. First and foremost, yes, I know. You know, this is a project that was conceived during Kano government. This is a project that was planned and launched by the Grand Coalition government by none other than the then Prime Minister, the current CORD leader, and the Minister for Water was now the Kitui governor, aspirant Honorable Charity Ngilo. What I'm wondering much about it, and now being implemented by Jubilee administration, what really I'm wondering is, did somebody somewhere mislead the minister and the executive, the president and the prime minister? Because I do not believe just the prime minister woke up one day and went to launch this project. And number 3, why it is of great importance to me and the people of Okampani is because we have a proposed Yatta Dam that is coming up. You know, Yatta borders Muranga. Around the same area, which will also have its main source of water from the areas which are being targeted by this tunnel. Number 4, we have another major project which is being implemented by the national government in the name of the Yatta Canal, which also draws water from the same areas. Now, this Yatta Canal serves almost 3-4 counties of Okampani, sections of Kiambu, and even Muranga itself. So it is of great importance to us to know what really exactly is the key impact, and what could be, if there are issues. Definitely I will be petitioning through the parliament to ensure we relook at this thing. But if eventually there is no impact, I think Kaluma, you will assist me in asking your leader to offer an apology.
But okay, fine, you just brought it back to the politics of Accord and Jubilee, but watching your colleagues, members of the National Assembly there from Muranga County addressing this matter, you can actually feel for them, because they're clearly caught in between a rock and a hard place. They're walking a very tight line, as Sylvia Chebet puts it, because on one hand, you have to look at the benefit of your constituents and the people who put you in that position, and who you will go back to in a matter of months to ask that they re-elect you. But you also have to toe the party line and maintain your position in that party, otherwise you will not get the ticket.
When it is a matter concerning the interest of your people, there is no party line. And that is why I told you, in our democratic system, you are not nominated by the party through a list, but you are directly elected. If I were the people of Muranga watching what is happening, all elected leaders from Muranga who are against the idea that these concerns need to be addressed should be, thrown out of their leadership positions come next elections. Fred, as you have rightly said, our problem as a country is that every issue that comes up, takes a political dimension for no reason at all. This current government, as the government purporting to implement this project, does not have to tell us Raila launched it. So what if Raila launched a wrong thing? Address yourselves to the concern. We have issues of environmental protection. Remember, we are the first country in the world whose citizen got a Nobel laureate on matters environmental protection. Actually, Wangari is barely from Muranga, there was from Nyeri.
Yes.
You get what I mean? We know that the late Honorable Michuki, one of the best ministers in terms of firmness of action we've ever had, said this project would only be undertaken under his own body, under his dead body. I'm happy it is being undertaken after he has died. It appears to me that it has never bothered the people of central Kenya to talk about environmental protection, most of their current leadership, after Wangari died. But I say, the spirit of Wangari rests, and he needs to rest in peace wherever it is. Let us do things. Let us not unsettle people like Wangari Maathai. Let them not turn in their graves. Let us do the right thing. There are 4 issues, being raised around this project, my brother. Forget about whoever's raised it. And I can tell you, in Kenya, there is one Kenyan who will raise issues if nobody else is raising it. Count on Raila to do it. Whether it is concerning Rift Valley or wherever, he'll raise it. 1, have we undertaken proper environmental impact assessment? I've heard that the purported environmental impact assessment report came over 1 year after implementation started. If Raila and others launched it, are we implementing it in the manner that they contemplated? Because it could be they were saying there is need for provision of water in Nairobi. Okay? Not tunneling through a hill. You know, we did a subject called geography. When you drill a tunnel through a hill, you are interfering with the arrangement of tectonic plates. So when Raila tells you that we need to investigate the possibility of, you know, occasioning seismic waves and earthquakes, you just need to read that basic, you know, topic in Form 2 to understand that is a possibility. What the people need is proper investigation. Could it be avoided? Now, if in the context of environmental impact assessment, Fred, you're being told you spoke with the people of Muranga. This is a matter environment. It is not a Muranga issue. There are people downstream. There are people to whom the water is coming to Nairobi. And before you risk, you know, environmental hazard in with the potential that is being suggested, before we are assured, you are talking of supplying water to Nairobi. Fred, what does Nairobi mean, as you were taught in history? A place of cool waters. I can tell you most of our buildings in Nairobi, including KICC, are over rivers. What have we done with the surface overflow we have when it rains? What have we done with all these other issues? Raila is raising the issue of public participation. It is a national governance ideal. Kangata and others are raising the issue of equity. Now that you are taking it to Nairobi, is it fair to us? Have we had enough? All these issues are issues we should discuss without thinking, Raila. But I'm telling you, if you are a leader who is shacking to politics for the sake of it, then this is the time for the Muranga people and of course Kenyans to say no to your being.
You know, I want to say something, Fred.
Yes.
You know, one thing the Honorable Kaluma is not telling the world is some of these multinationals, World Bank, African Development Bank, and have implemented major programs, development programs while I was at UNDP, and even in my current position as a member of Parliament for Yatta, is they don't get involved where such issues as what Honorable Karuma has raised before they are addressed, and they have a report on the same. That's why I'm not very much keen to dismiss what the Right Honorable Prime Minister is saying, and also I'm not also keen on, because somebody like Raila, somebody like President Uhuru Kenyatta, those are institutions in their own rights. When they speak, you expect their supporters to follow the queue, singing. To follow the queue, singing.
That's not
their
presidential system.
You know,
Fred, bodies like World Bank are the most corrupt.
Issues, some of these multinationals, Fred, they don't get involved. Before they release their money, they must ensure there is this environmental reports. They must be sure there is this project is viable. That's why I'm saying, and personally, I've written to the Minister of Environment, Minister of Water. I want to get more details about this, because it is really affecting us.
Yes, and that's the kind of way forward that we want to see, especially for members of the National Assembly, that when there's an issue like this, where do we go after this? Do we just raise it in the media and discuss it on such a platform, then we forget about it? But gentlemen, I want us to wrap up this news review session with me giving you an opportunity, because the weekend is here with us, and I know some of you have projects to implement, and maybe you have something to say to the public, including Bwana Kimosop, who comes from Baringo North, and he'll tell us what plans you have for that area. So let's start with you, Bwana Mwangangi. Where are you heading this weekend as we wrap up?
To the constituency, as usual. From Friday to Monday, I must be down there all through since I was elected, unless I'm out of the country.
And this discussion about the Muranga water project will continue even at the constituency?
It has to. This is something of my great importance, and to my people. The people of Kitui, the people of Makueni, the people of Machakos County, Muranga, and even Kiambu through where we border them. So it is something of great importance to us. We must get to the bottom of it.
Yes, Bwana Kaluma.
You know, Fred, you asked me last time what the news for this week would be. I didn't know it would be Muranga water. So let me wait and see what the Prime Minister comes up with. Yes, and of course we are with him in Kisii tomorrow. So we are proceeding to Kisii to meet young people and raise their hope about the future.
Okay.
But let me hope it will be Itare Dam, which is also extracting water from three rivers in the Mao. So we are going to Itare Dam, the 36 billion project. I hope it is mature to be brought up.
So from Moranga you are taking the thing to
of course, I will also hope that the president will come out clean. The Prime Minister made a statement saying, I hope the personal interest, commercial interest of the president is not conflicting. Then I see somebody, a learned lawyer like Orengo, also saying what he's saying. So I hope the president will come up, not as a president, but as a leader in our country, to clear his name over those issues.
Okay. And finally, Bona Kimosop, will you be heading to Baringo North by any time?
I'm a professional. Somebody who has made sure that I have become objective in this forum. I am chairman of my local secondary school in Baringo North. It is called Triandonin Mixed Secondary School. So I think as a chairman, I want to wish the Form 4s the best in the examinations. I'm happy that this week we had there are good systems being put in place to ensure the integrity of our national examinations will be above board. I think we need to commend the Minister and the National Examination Council.
Yes.
I also want to point out that I commend Parliament. For a long time we usually bash such institutions, but also for expediting the process of getting a Chief Justice and also the JSE. But you can see that there are institutions that are moving in the right direction. Over the weekend I think I will be in the city. I want to say something that the digitalization of public service makes a difference in reducing corruption. Now, there is an incident I witnessed recently, and I saw that corruption has actually realigned itself alongside the digitalized public service and challenge institutions like ethics and anti-corruption to periodically audit processes, so that even though Kenyans are being supported and provided services through a digitalized platform, also the innovative ways in which corruption has actually organized itself through that process, be it through immigration, be it through the certificate of good conduct, actually dealt with, so that Kenyans get the best for their resources, and also they are proud to be citizens of this country, enjoying services free of corruption.
Thank you so much, Bwana Vincent Kimosop.